There we go. Is this thing on? Hey there, everyone. The Doctor is in, and we are finally back with more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations Recipe for Turnabout. And believe it or not, that is not the longest title in the series. Well, at least, Whoops. Apologies, folks. I just realized that I am... One of my devices was not yet plugged in. There we go. Okay. So with that being said, let us begin. As soon as I actually press the right button. There we are. Okay, now we're talking. January 8th, 9:46 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby Number 1. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Good morning, Maggie. So, what do you think is going to happen today, sir? Yesterday's session didn't go so well and ended on a giant mystery. That's true. And we still haven't solved a single part of it yet. Are you okay, Nick? Yeah, of course. I saw that little flash of doubt in your eyes. No, that wasn't doubt, that was, determination. Why don't I believe you? It's nearly time, Maggie. You better get going to the defendant's seat. Roger, don't let me down, Mr. Wright. I'm counting on you.
Hey, pal!
Hey, Detective Gumshoe.
Quit stressing Maggie out. She doesn't need that.
How did you know she was stressed?
I was watching through the doorway.
Oh.
You look like you lost the case already. Show a bit of confidence, will you, pal? Here, maybe this'll help.
Huh? Have you taken up aromatherapy too?
Not in a million years, pal. Don't tell me they don't remember this thing.
Come to think of it, that doesn't look like one of those aromatherapy bottles.
This is the small bottle that turned up in Tribulations' kitchen a couple of days ago.
Wow, look at all these little bottles. Oh, they're aromatherapy oils. It's got so many they're overflowing onto the floor. Hey, wait a minute. There's one bottle that's different from all the others. Well, what do you know? And it doesn't have a label either. And it doesn't smell.
We finally got the analysis results back from the lab.
So, what is it? Is it the poison?
I'm afraid not, pal. It's medication.
Uh-huh. Medication?
Yeah, for ears. Topical use only, apparently.
For ears? You mean...
Yeah, it's the medication Glenn Elg was using for his ruptured eardrum.
What was Glenn Elg's ear medicine doing in the kitchen? What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on that?
Someone screwed up, so they only had time to analyze the contents of the bottle. Another hour and they might have gotten something on the prints, but...
That's gonna weaken its impact as a piece of evidence.
Okay, pal, this is it. Make sure your defense is impregnable today, got it?
Today's trial. I'm gonna expose that guy for what he's done, or my name isn't Phoenix Wright. His name isn't Phoenix Wright either, but, you know, just so we're clear on that.
Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. Ready and waiting as always, Your Honor.
Very good. Then we'll get underway at once. Yesterday we heard the testimony of Mr. Victor Kudo. He claims to have witnessed the defendant putting a powder into the victim's coffee. However, the witness's testimony was plagued with a number of problems.
The mark on the rim of the cup shows that the victim drank from it with his right hand. But according to the old man's testimony, he picked it up with his left hand.
Thank you, Mr. Kudo. Furthermore, according to the witness's account, the victim was listening to the radio with an earpiece in his left ear. Yet the victim's left eardrum was ruptured, which made him effectively deaf in that ear.
It's amazing how many contradictions a single case can have, huh, Nick? Ha! Allow me to enlighten you, Your Honor. The world you see keeps turning, and we must turn with it.
You've lost me already, Mr. Godot.
Don't let the mysteries of yesterday mystify you today. Only losers think like that. You've got to change with the times. That's one of my rules.
Are you implying that you've resolved these contradictions?
You know the answers to these riddles.
You know the answers to these riddles?
The old guy wasn't just throwing seed in here. He was throwing us off the scent. And today I'll prove it.
Very well, let's let the first witness take the stand.
And you are?
Oh, bonjour, everyone. I'm Jean Armstrong, the owner and lead chef of La Tribulations restaurant. Enchanté.
Forgive me for asking, witness, but are you a woman?
Oh la la, monsieur. As you can see, I am le père and perky gentleman, no?
On the day of the incident, you were in Tribulations' kitchen. Isn't that right?
Monsieur. Everything feels right.
Ha! Wow, he's totally unfazed. Doesn't anything intimidate this guy?
Oh, very well. Your testimony, please, witness. Please tell the court what happened that day at Tribulations.
Oui, volunteers. When it all happened, there were just 2 customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some new art deco that day. Like having a large mirror between the tables, for example.
A what? You have most kindly solved the problem for us.
Oui, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at.
Or maybe not.
La cap, la earpiece, and la glasses, he would have seen everything in reverse, no?
Mirror?
Oui, un grand mirror, la most enormous mirror.
And suddenly the mystery disappears. Like I said, the world keeps turning, so roll with it.
That would explain the coffee cup and the earpiece conundrum. The mirror would have made everything appear back to front.
What the heck? It's way too early in the morning for this to be happening to me.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Why me?
Me all happened, there were just 2 customers in my restaurant.
And who were the 2 customers exactly?
But of course, the young man who died. And the other, not so young man.
You're referring to yesterday's witness, I presume.
What about the other man Maggie says she saw at the table? Something tells me Mr. Armstrong isn't planning to disclose his existence. We need some hard evidence first before we can bring him up, don't we? I guess I'll just have to try a different approach for the time being.
I remember I was experimenting with some new art decos that day.
You were experimenting with Art Deco? How come I never heard about that before today?
You are not familiar with the language of interior design, monsieur?
Please stay on topic. Now, why didn't you tell the court about this before?
But I did, just a few moments ago.
Excuse me, Mr. Armstrong. This deco you mentioned, are you referring to some sort of...
How do you pronounce that?
Decoche.
I'm gonna look that up.
That's how I would pronounce it.
Yeah, that's how you would pronounce it. The question is that actually how you're supposed to pronounce it?
I don't know. I don't speak French.
Neither does he. Of course, I could roll with it. I can't even find that in the dictionary. Hold on. Decature? Okay.
This deco you mentioned, are you referring to some sort of decoction?
No, Art Deco. It's a style of design, Your Honor. I don't even know what the cocksure is. Unless it's the cocksure lawyer over there. He's talking about interior design, walls, ceilings, carpets, that kind of thing.
Ah, yes, of course. That deco.
I was trying to achieve a more feminine look for my restaurant. I was planning the most bold remodeling of la decor. Like having a large mirror between la tables, for example.
How big of a mirror are we talking about here?
Something about 4 meters wide and, about 2 meters high.
Let's see, if 1 meter is about 1 yard. Holy glass in a frame, that's huge.
I was intending to install it on the ceiling eventually.
The ceiling? Is there a mirror on the ceiling? I don't remember.
Mais non, but I decided not to go through with it in the end.
What should I do? Should I ask him more about the mirror or not? Press harder, for sure. If you really had such a large mirror in the restaurant, someone would have noticed it. But there's nothing about a mirror in Mr. Kudo or Maggie Bird's testimonies.
But...
Objection!
You didn't ask, Trite. You have only yourself to blame for such sloppy work.
What?
A mirror was delivered to Tribulations the day before the incident. Really? As Mr. Armstrong testified, he was carrying out some design changes. And, as it turned out, he didn't actually use the mirror in the end. This just doesn't add up. Even if a mirror was delivered to Tribulations, it doesn't prove that it was in the restaurant on the day of the crime. Ah! If you want to doubt someone, Trite, look in the mirror. I'm sure the person looking back at you will be dubious enough.
So the witness yesterday had seen the victim reflected in a mirror.
Oui, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at.
Normally, I'd expect people to know the difference between a reflection and a real object.
Objection!
Normally? How does normality come into this? That's lame, Trite, even for you. Huh? Are you trying to say that if something isn't normal, it isn't possible? Is that it? Where does that leave the porky-headed lawyer and the top-knot chick over there? And the ungodly cool guy with a mask over here? Well, Trite? Ah, not the hair! I do not have a top knot.
Mr. Godot is correct. A lack of normality is no basis for discounting an argument.
Bien, logic as one del day. La cap, la earpiece, and la glasses, it would have seen everything in reverse, no?
Everything? You would have seen everything in reverse?
Oui.
Hey, Nick, you should take a second think about what old Seedy said in his testimony. How did he phrase it again?
The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side of the green lens of his specs. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear, without a doubt. And then he used the same hand to pick up the cup, his left hand.
If he saw everything he described reflected in a mirror, then everything he said he saw on the left was actually on the right, huh? And that clears up all the problems with his testimony, I guess. Or does it? Ha! Kind of hard to believe everything's the fault of a mirror, but... Do you think old CD saw everything through a reflection? If he did, it would explain all the contradictions in his testimony. But that just makes the situation worse for Maggie. There's gotta be something in that old man's testimony. We've just gotta dig deeper. Okay, so... Do I present the victim's profile?
Objection!
No, that didn't work. The witness's statement is clearly faulty, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, but I can see nothing faulty. Unfortunately, I will have to penalize you, Mr. Wright.
I must be on the wrong track. Alright. Let me press the mirror one again, because I'm supposed to press them in order. Okay, let's see, blah, blah, blah. Press harder on the mirror.
Objection!
No. Unless I'm supposed to present the Victor's testimony, but it doesn't mention that whole thing. Alright, I'm gonna save here just to be safe. Alright.
Objection!
No. Oh, maybe I was presenting the wrong statement.
Objection!
Oh. Gosh darn it, I accidentally presented my badge. Wrong button. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so now we go to Profiles, and we present the victim's face.
Objection!
There we go. The coffee cup, the earpiece, and the HMD. Let's think back over Mr. Kudo's testimony for a second, shall we?
The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side of the green lens of his specs. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear without a doubt.
So to summarize, we were told both the HMD and the earpiece were on the victim's left side. Now, if Mr. Kudo saw all that as a reflection in a mirror, it means both the HMD and the earpiece were actually on the victim's right side. Exactement, you see, monsieur. Now that you think about it, it's not so odd, no? Unfortunately, that's where we run into a monumental contradiction with the facts. If Mr. Kudo really did see everything in a mirror, why is it the HMD is now on the wrong side of his head?
Order! Order! Mr. Wright is correct. If the witness genuinely observed the victim reflected in a mirror, then we would expect the victim's eyepiece to have been over his right eye.
Objection!
How bitter. Wright, you should have a taste of this bitterness. It'll calm you down in no time. Are we talking about your coffee or something completely different? You don't understand the way the witness thinks.
How he thinks.
You remember this, I presume? The I broke the vase, sorry, apology Mr. Kudo's sworn testimony? Exactly. The old man has one very grievous habit. other than throwing seeds. The more of an impression something makes, the more muddled his mind makes it. And what's the most striking thing about Mr. Elg?
Clearly, it's the victim's eyepiece.
And that's my point. The old man strikes again. Mr. Elg's H&D made a big impression on the old man.
I saw the earpiece and those newfangled spectacles he was wearing. Oh, yes, they were both on his left ear, you hear? His left ear.
Ha! Well, Trite. That's the worst but best impression of Kudo ever. I didn't realize I was going to comment on it. Wow, I really thought he was old Seedy for a minute there. Godot's good.
Enough! I must agree that yesterday's witness was irresponsibly rash in much of his testimony.
Bad luck, Nick. It looks like the boil of the contradiction you found is just a rash. A mirror can't be beaten by a handful of seeds, nor can it lie. So, what exactly was the old man looking at? Fill us in, Mr. Armstrong. Go on, tell the court. We're all ears.
Oui, I can explain. Please, if you look at the plans of the restaurant. Alors, is everyone sitting comfortably? The mirror was in the middle of the restaurant, dividing the two halves. There is only one seat from which you could have seen an image of the victim. That was the seat at the table next to the victim. That was where the old man was sitting. After the terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror so it was not in the way. But naturally, I did not touch anything else.
Sure.
I see no problems with the explanation we have just heard. From the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror.
What a naughty little coquette I am, confusing all the men like this.
Don't worry about it. We can keep up, except for the guy breaking out in a cold sweat over there again. Ugh, I hate that guy.
You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror. Are you quite sure about that?
Volunteer, of course.
Very well, Mr. Wright. Your cross-examination, if you please.
Objection.
The mirror, it was in the middle of the restaurant, dividing the two halves.
Let me see something here. Because I have a sneaking suspicion. Crime photo, yep. Aha. Do you see the problem with this picture?
There's no mirror.
No, there wouldn't be a mirror from this angle. Even if there was a mirror where they said it was, it wouldn't be shown in this picture. What's the problem? Nope, that's not it. It has been a minute since the last episode, so perhaps I can explain more once we get to the contradiction.
There is only one seat from which you could have seen an image of the victim. That was the seat at the table next to the victim. That was where the old man was sitting. After the terrible incident occurred, I moved the mirror so I was not in the way.
There.
The medicine.
No,
No.
here's the problem.
When the incident occurred, I broke the vase at my seat. I'm sorry.
The vase was intact.
Your Honor, Mr. Kudo's words yesterday strongly contradict Mr. Armstrong's testimony.
This is a letter of apology. It was written by Mr. Kudo, is it not?
I realize it looks useless, Your Honor, but this is still testimony. Ha! I guess useless people are only really good at identifying useless things.
What relevance does this scrap of paper have to the trial, Mr. Wright?
Mr. Kudo's testimony is actually very relevant to the question at hand, Your Honor, because it very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence. This piece of evidence contradicts with the testimony we've heard, Your Honor.
The crime photo?
Yes, this photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist.
What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright?
Should not exist? Ha! This sounds like you're describing yourself, trite.
Now then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is the something that should not exist in the photo?
The face.
There is one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all.
Objection!
Don't be an idiot, Trite. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from.
Exactly. There's only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Tribulations that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie. Mon Dieu!
Objection!
Don't try to confuse the court, Trite. Obviously, the witness cleaned up the vase, while the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene.
Unfortunately, Mr. Godot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary, in his own words. I did not touch anything else except the mirror.
Yeah. Ah!
Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself?
It was right. There was no mirror in the restaurant that day.
In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear which he couldn't hear?
You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. If you want to claim the mirror wasn't there, Trite, then this problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw?
If I can answer this, then I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it. Are you going to be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick? There's more than just this one contradiction, Maya. What do you mean? Remember what Maggie told us? There was another man at the victim's table. And there was a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Kudo's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up.
Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer.
Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Kudo's testimony is simple. The victim was a phony. This case is riddled with contradictions, yet there's one very simple answer that clears them all up.
And what is that?
The incident Mr. Kudo witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two completely different events.
What?
Yes, the victim that Mr. Kudo saw wasn't Mr. Glenn Elg at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elg. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake.
Order! Order in the court! Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom.
Quiet, Gramps. Why don't you clear out of here, huh?
What did you say?
Trite. Are you saying that what Mr. Kudo saw was a setup?
Yes. Someone pretended to be the Glenn Elg and acted out the whole coffee poisoning. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection!
Get real, Trite. Why would anyone want to do that?
Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was...
The serving girl brought him a Jalapeno, but she put something in it. That's the serving girl right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well.
It's so hard to believe, but
There was one and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee.
Objection!
Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? It's true that there were no other customers at the restaurant at the time, but... It's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening.
that's right. Well, witness, if your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics, you would have known about it, correct?
Oh la la, this is most difficult for me.
No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath, after all. Was there, in fact, a phony at Tribulations that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened.
The defense's request for additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain in detail the events in the restaurant that day.
Oui. The victim, Monsieur Egg, he came to my restaurant alone. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got rowdy one laboratory, my egg became... Monsieur Egg became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes later that the poisoning incident occurred. No, there was no time for a phony to do the acting.
Just so we're clear, there was no mirror in the restaurant after all.
Je vous demande pardon. Forgive me, Your Honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly.
What you have just done is commit perjury, Mr. Armstrong. I'll decide how to punish you later.
Oui.
For now, we will hear your cross-examination. Mr. Wright, if you please.
He took that perjury charge a bit too well. I'm guessing he'll be in more serious trouble after this cross-examination.
La victim, Monsieur L, came to my restaurant alone.
We means yes, correct. Welcome in, Spider Zed. Glad to have you here. How are you?
Was he
Was he alone at his table as well?
Mais oui, I saw him from the kitchen.
Yet the defendant, Miss Bird, remembers it differently. She swears it was another man at the victim's table.
Objection!
Ha! Unfortunately for you, Trite. Yesterday's witness also testified that the victim was alone. You know, seeing you squirm like that reminds me of a certain coffee's bittersweet bite. What kind of coffee have you been drinking? It's not coffee, it's love. It's love that's bittersweet. Hearing Maya say that makes her seem wise all of a sudden. No, you're reading too much into that. Almost as much as the people who are like, now I've been saddled with these unnecessary feelings. I don't understand why people will read so much into that line.
I remember the old man arrived long after him.
By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct?
Oui, it comes often for my special coffee.
I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip just for the experience.
Oh, you make me so happy, monsieur. You're most welcome anytime.
I said it was worth one sip, and nothing more. So when Mr. Kudo arrived at the restaurant around the same time as the victim, maybe I should ask about his arrival in more detail. How many minutes after? So you're saying that not much time elapsed between when the victim and Mr. Kudo arrived?
Oui, that is correct.
But that still leaves the possibility that something happened in that gap of time. And by your recollection, how much time would you say elapsed?
Let me see. Approximately 2 minutes, I would say.
You're watching this on your phone. The captions are not working very well. Just dropped by for a short time, currently visiting family. Okay. Well, good to have you here nonetheless.
Hi, Spider Dad. It's Pierogi.
My wife, the tired pierogi, says hi in case you could not see her voice in the captions.
It's 2 minutes, that's all?
Seems unlikely that anything untoward could have happened in such a short time.
Rats, I knew I shouldn't have pursued this line of questioning. Alright, let's try the other line of questioning then. What time was it? You're fine. Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived?
No, I cannot remember, monsieur.
I believe we were told by a witness yesterday. The crime was reported at 2:25 p.m. by kind of a scary old man, sir. Perhaps jog your memory, witness?
The incident happened about 20 minutes after I arrived. So the victim must have arrived between 2 p.m. and 10 p.m., no?
Just after 2, huh?
Thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful.
I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I? Time of day will be added to the witness's testimony.
Oui, monsieur judge. Everything I do it for you.
Merci bien. That's French, isn't it?
I'm glad at least one person is in a good mood. He's even humming a song to himself.
I remember the old man arrived not long after him, just after 2 p.m.
And why do I get the feeling that's gonna screw something up here? No. 2:25, I think, or something. The time of death was between 1:30 and 2:30 p.m. No, it makes perfect sense. Ah, that's the problem. The Millionaire Radio flyer. The lottery numbers are only announced at 1:30.
Objection!
I'm afraid I finally got you, Mr. Armstrong.
What do you mean?
At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio with his earpiece. The show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week they announced the winning numbers of the $500,000 lottery ticket.
Oui, that must be the show Monsieur Egg was listening to.
I can't see any problem with this testimony, Mr. Wright.
I wonder. You say that the victim arrived at your restaurant after 2 p.m., correct?
Oui, I'm sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time because I just finished serving the lunch menu.
Get to the point, Wright, if you have one. Excuse me. That show is broadcast live at 1:30 p.m. And it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life.
It's on the air at 1:30?
Now, supposedly, the victim made some noise when it was announced that he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy could have occurred after 2 p.m. Because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time.
No!
This victim we've been told about has done nothing but the impossible. Listening to the radio with a ruptured eardrum, catching a show that was already over. There's only one conclusion you can draw from these facts. This victim was an imposter acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. Yes, there were 2 Glen Elgs in Tribulations that day. The real Glen Elg, now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer, and the phony Glen Elg acting out the events for Mr. Kudo to witness.
It certainly seems that way. I mean, if that wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy?
Objection!
Quite a performance, Trite. You were almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of rhythm to build your song.
See you soon. Problem on my phone. We'll example later. No worries. Have a good evening. What is this? Music Theory 101?
Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just after 2 p.m. The phony elf is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain, then, where the real Clint Elk is?
I don't believe I have to spell this out to the court. However, at that time, the real Glen Elg was already dead.
That's certainly the obvious conclusion.
Objection!
Thank you, Trite. That's exactly what I was hoping you would say. But what? Now, I presume you can prove this theory of yours? Can you explain where the missing corpse went to?
The missing corpse?
According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. If that customer was the phony Glen Elg. Then where did the killer hide the body of the real victim?
In the kitchen.
I was going to say in the window seat. Or maybe in Panama. Arsenic and Old Lace reference.
Ah!
The prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body?
Yes, Your Honor.
No conjecture, Trite. Let's hear some facts for once. Show the court a piece of evidence that proves where the body was hidden.
The kitchen. With the ear medication that was found in the kitchen.
Okay. Evidence? What's with the intense pressure in here all of a sudden?
I thought I had him with that contradiction.
He's turned it all around and backed me into a corner instead.
Well, Mr. Wright, the court will now hear the defense's theory and evidence. First, where was the body of the real Mr. Elg concealed?
Inside Tribune. It would have been too dangerous to take the body outside. Obviously, the body must have been hidden somewhere inside Tribune.
Interesting. Where could a body have been hidden inside the restaurant? Perhaps you would care to show the court on these plans, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. Exact location where the body was concealed inside Tribune is...
Take that!
The body was hidden here.
I see.
Nice supposition. But the real question is, can you back it up? Where's the evidence that proves the body was hidden in that location?
Take that!
Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize this bottle?
No. I have never seen that ugly bottle before in my life. I only use their very best models, monsieur. The highest quality only for me.
Where was that bottle found, Mr. Wright?
Interestingly enough, Your Honor, it was found in the kitchen of Tribune.
Quoi? But I only ever use these bottles for my aromatherapy oils.
But this bottle doesn't contain aromatherapy oil, Mr. Armstrong. No, it contains a medication.
What kind of medication?
I'm sure everyone remembers, don't they? That Mr. Elg visited an... an otolaryngological clinic, however you pronounce it, and was given medication that day.
You can't be serious.
The defense had the contents of the bottle analyzed, and I have the lab results here. The contents of the bottle matched the prescription that was given to Mr. Elg. Glen Elg's murderer hid the body in the restaurant kitchen, at which time this bottle fell out of the victim's pockets. Mr. Armstrong, when the incident occurred, didn't you say you were in the kitchen?
Mon Dieu!
Yes, you know what I'm about to say. It was you who hit the victim's body. You did a fine job pretending to defend my client, Maggie Bird. However, You were setting her up to pick the fall behind the poor girl's back.
No!
Order! Order! This is an extraordinary development. Witness, did you murder Mr. Glenn Elg?
Never! I could not do such a horrible thing.
No! No! Mr. Godot?
The bitterness. Every time I get lied to, I always down a mug of coffee. That's one of my rules.
Do you have the slightest idea how many cups you've had by now?
Then I like to do the same to the person who lied to me. I like to take them down with my empty cup. Listen up, chef. How about a brand new flavor in your ear, my age-deficient friend?
Je vous demande pardon. Please, you must hear me out. It is a trap. Listen to me. Por favor.
Yo hablo español, Mr. Armstrong? And por favor is Spanish.
I'm only gonna ask you once. Did you do it?
No, no, none. Absolutely none. I simply...
Let's hear it. You've got one shot, right, Gramps?
Witness, the court will permit you the chance to make one final statement. If you lie under oath again, Mr. Godot's coffee mug awaits you. As does my gavel.
Oui, it is clear.
They always say in the movies, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Very well. Begin your final testimony, Mr. Armstrong.
It is true. I hid the body in the kitchen. A man forced me to do it. I had no choice. I had to go along with him because there was a reason I could not refuse. But I did not kill him. I swear it. You must believe me.
So he made you an offer you couldn't refuse? That Godfather reference.
Oh.
The guy's mafia. Well, technically Yakuza, but this is Japanifornia we're talking about here.
Cricket.
What?
All you got was crickets for me.
You were forced? By who?
I cannot say or I will be erased.
Let's try a different question then. When Mr. Elk died, was he really the only person at his table?
Servus. There was another man.
I knew it. Maggie was telling the truth.
You may cross-examine the witness now, Mr. Wright.
Just one more thing I need to do. I gotta break this guy and get him to tell us the name of the real killer.
It is true. I hid the body in the kitchen. A man forced me to do it. I had no choice.
What man? Who was he?
No, no, I cannot say. I fear for my life.
He's really scared. We'll just have to put the words in his mouth, Nick. Yeah, you're right. If he won't tell me, I'll tell him.
But why would you go along with this man?
I had to go along with him because there was a reason why I could not refuse.
And what reason would that be, Mr. Armstrong?
You know, monsieur.
Yes?
Surely you cannot expect a young maiden to talk about such an embarrassment.
A maiden? You're a bit old to get away with that. A bit too male. Can't finish the cross-examination without establishing his reason. You just have to prove it with evidence.
But I did not kill him. I swear, you must believe me.
So, you're claiming that all you did was hide the bodies, is that correct?
Oui, that's right.
We're to believe you, Mr. Armstrong. You must tell the court everything. You must make clear the identity of the man who ordered you to do this.
He's already confessed this much. He might as well stop dancing around the real issue. Yeah, but he really doesn't want to tell us who the killer is. Then suck it to him, Nick. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
It is true. I ate the body in the kitchen.
Oh, hold on. Okay. Alright. Hold on. Sorry, disdainful laundry, but I do not tolerate fake links for fake, cheap viewers. Pity disdainful laundry isn't that bad of a name. Let's see, where was I? Did you carry the body by yourself?
Oui, I carried it. And I carried Maggie too.
Maggie too?
When she saw the victim collapse, she fainted. I could not leave her there.
Why did you hide the bodies?
I think I'm supposed to present his reason he couldn't refuse, even though that's not exactly a contradiction. So that would be his loan contract.
Objection!
You have a $500,000 debt, don't you?
Half $500,000? Is this true, Mr. Armstrong?
Oui, je suis désolé. I was weak and I borrowed the money.
This is Mr. Armstrong's Achilles heel. And that's why you couldn't refuse anything asked of you by this man.
Take that!
A $500,000 loan from a black market loan shark. And you had no way of paying it back, did you? That's why you were forced to do anything this man told you.
Oui, it is as you say.
Mr. Armstrong,
The tiger, it told me it was going to use my restaurant for a business rendezvous. On the day in question, it was meeting the victim to demand that he repay his loan. I don't know why it happened like that. I just did what he told me to. I had no choice. I carried the body along innocent Maggie out of the dining area and into the kitchen. After that, I just tried to forget what I had seen.
I think we can now safely say that the man who forced your hand was Mr. Furio Tigre.
I do have one further question for you, Mr. Armstrong. The poison and the lottery ticket that were found in the defendant's apron pocket. Was that your doing as well?
No, I knew nothing about that. Making it look like it was Maggie who had done it. I was not. It is despicable.
Mr. Godot, you will summon this Furio Tigre as a witness. I doubt that can be arranged today, so we're adjourned for now. Proceedings will continue tomorrow.
30 minutes.
But what?
The trial will go on. I'll see to it myself. I need half an hour to get that guy on the stand. Not a minute more. How the... Don't sit back and relax yet, Wright. No one knows if that chef is really telling the truth or not. This trial could still go either way.
Very well. Your request is granted, Mr. Godot. Resume once Mr. Tigre is ready to take the stand. Until then, court is adjourned for a 30-minute recess.
Okay, so save progress. Okay, and we're going to... All right, I'm going to run some ads while I take a few minutes of a break myself. So I'll be right back. Alright, and we are back.
Yay!
Yeah, here we go. So we're finally going to see the tiger on the stand. We've almost got this case won now, Nick. I wish I could agree. Huh? When I cross-examined Mr. Armstrong just now, he said he was just doing what the tiger told him to do. But Godot picked up on it, remember? He pointed out that without proof, we don't know if what he testified is the truth. You mean you think Mr. Armstrong was lying? I don't know, but if that's the line the prosecution takes, we could be in trouble. I get the feeling that we don't have the case-making evidence we're gonna need.
Hey, pal!
Detective Gumshoe! What are you so jumpy about, Detective? Your hair's standing on end.
Hey, so that's the pot calling the kettle black, little Miss Topknot.
It's not a top knot. Never mind about the hair, just calm down, alright?
I can't stand still when I don't have a job to do. I kind of get wound up. Ugh!
No kidding.
You gotta have something that you need me to do, pal. Anything.
Well,
Hey, I'm gonna take a jog back down to the precinct. I could get some prints analyzed for you if you got an hour.
an hour. The trial will have been reconvened by then. But Nick, we still don't have a really decisive piece of evidence, right? True. Without some kind of trump card to pull out of the bag, we're really stuck. You said you could get some fingerprint analysis done in an hour?
You bet.
In that case, would you mind checking the prints on this for me?
Take that!
If you're going back to the station anyway, could you find out whose prints are on this?
Oh, hey, that's the small bottle I gave back to you this morning, right?
Yeah, I think it's time we solve the last mystery of who the prints on it belong to.
Sure thing, pal. Actually, that's been gnawing at me, too.
How much you want to bet the fingerprints are actually from Mr. Elg? It's been a while, so I can't remember.
Okay, I'll get this off to the lab right away. Just make sure you don't lose the case before I get back.
Easy for you to say. This is pretty much the final showdown, I guess. It's time to separate the phonies from the real guys. The phony feeny. The feeny phony.
Court will now reconvene. Mr. Godot, did you find this Furio Tigre?
I even tamed him for you. It was a 3-cut job, no problem. Tamed him? The guy's name may be Furio Tigre, but come on. He's pretty lively. Be careful, he still bites.
Very well, please show Mr. Tigre to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation.
Don't hide under the table, Maya. Unless there's room for me down there, too.
Would you like...
What you say to me?
Nothing. I didn't say nothing, honest.
I guess if fear would introduce a bad Brooklyn accent in the judge.
I got business to take care of, you hear me? So who the hell called me into this hole? Was it you, Spiky?
No, of course not. It was the judge. And he's gone. The judge. Your Honor?
Oh dear, I seem to have dropped my pen. Where on earth is it? Don't mind me, just carry on with the proceedings as normal.
That's it. We're doomed.
Maybe you didn't hear me. I said, who the hell was it that called me in here?
There's no need to shout. We can all hear you.
What'd you say?
There's no point struggling. You're caught in a snare. The relentless snare of the law. And I'm the one that hauled you in. It's too cool. Don't let him get the better of you, Nick. Let's start with the basics. You know about the incident in question, correct?
Incident? I don't know nothing about no stinking incident, mask boy.
You mean you didn't attend the previous trial of Maggie Bird?
Maggie who? I got more important things to do than watch courtroom dramas.
Of course. Well, perhaps you could give us your testimony then. Please tell us about what you did on the day of the murder.
Phoenix Wright. You's the one who set this up, didn't you? You's gonna regret the day you ruffled the tiger's fur. You hear what I'm saying?
Maybe I should have brought a diaper with me today. Get a grip, Nick.
I don't know nothing about no murder. I was tied up with business in December last year. Spent all of my time in my office. I got whales lined up to borrow cash from the tender lender every single day. You just want to check my alibi? Just ask Violetta.
At last I found my pen. Very well then, Mr. Wright. Your cross-examination... Ah! Well, what is it? Please, witness, if you could refrain from shouting out like that.
I know the kind of games that guy in the blue plays. That lowlife is no lawyer. He just punches away at stupid details till he wins.
Lowlife? Me?
Listen up, Smarty. Every time you ask me something that doesn't relate to this case, I'm gonna bill you $50,000, and you's gonna borrow the cash from me.
That's one loan contract I refuse to sign.
And don't think it ain't gonna hurt when you tangle with the tiger.
I love a good spectator sport.
Just a minute. That's really not...
This witness is... How can I put it? A hungry tiger roaming the urban jungle. Get on his bad side and he'll bite everyone's heads off. Yours too.
Very well. I have no choice but to impose a penalty system here.
You better be listening. I said I got business to take care of. Big business. If I don't spit now, I ain't gonna catch my bus.
The court will impose a penalty for any irrelevant pressing of witness testimony. Keep that in mind as you begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. You can do it, Nick! Come out from under there already, would you, Maya?
I don't know nothing about no murder. I was tied up with business in December last year. Spent all of my time in my office. I got whales lined up to borrow cash from tender lender every single day. You just want to check my alibi? Just ask Violetta.
Just think, all you have to do is press him on something irrelevant, and bam, $50,000. Get real, Maya. How about you pay back the money then? Your allowance should cover it. Hey, I'm no idiot, you know. Well, I'm certainly not the one who thought the $50,000 was free money. Anyway, I need to work this guy without pressing his testimony too hard. His testimony's pretty solid as it is. I admit nothing jumps out at me as a contradiction. I've got to find an opening somewhere, or I need to make one.
Right, but if you said he wasn't there, but the chef saw him there,
I don't know.
and so did Maggie, so I don't know if he presents the chef's testimony. I don't know where that would fit.
Oh, wait a minute. Tied up with business in December last year, spent all your time in your office. Really? Is that a fact? And what's this?
Objection!
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
Dang it.
no.
Your Honor, that statement contradicts this evidence.
It does? I don't see anything contradictory.
Huh? Really?
Objection denied. Try to think before you make accusations, Mr. Wright.
Oops, that didn't go so well. Alright. Let's try just pressing him on this instead of presenting evidence.
Hold it!
Are you sure about that? We're talking about 1 month ago, you know.
You see these teeth? That's how sharp my secretary is.
Sharp? Is he talking about Viola Cadaverini?
She writes everything in my scheduler. December, mainly in the office. office. That's what it says, so that's where I was.
That seems like a rather sketchy schedule.
Here he goes again. What the tiger did all December isn't the issue. What's important is what he was doing on the day of the murder, so now what? Press harder. Mr. Tigre,
What do you want?
if you wouldn't mind going into a bit more detail.
Objection!
This is a dead end, Triton. You know it. Remember the rules.
No, it's essential that we establish the witness's alibi accurately.
I agree.
The victim was killed on December 3rd. Were you in the office that day too?
Baby's use ain't listening. Of course I was. I never set foot outside. I had meetings all day with a bunch of cats wanting to do business with me. I ain't never seen that young kid before.
I do believe the witness's last statement was important. Mr. Godot, if you could, please.
Mr. Tigre, the court asked you to add that last statement to your testimony.
Don't let an animal beat you. Be an man, Your Honor, and ask him yourself.
The day you was talking about, I was in the office too. I never saw that kid before.
Okay, now we have a contradiction. Mr. Tigre, you claim you didn't know Mr. Glenn Elg, but it appears that Mr. Elg knew you.
What?
Mr. Elg left this little note on his calendar. Meet with the tiger. And the date? December 3rd.
December 3rd? That's the day of the murder.
So, Mr. Tigre, I submit that you did indeed know one Mr. Glenn Elg, because on the very day of the incident, you met with him.
Not bad. He's actually not bad.
So sorry?
I was just messing with you just to see how good you were.
Did you hear that, Nick? He said you're not bad. That's one compliment I can do without, plus he's lying through his teeth.
Witness, please remember that you're under oath. Lies will not be tolerated.
You's calling me a liar? Is that what you're doing?
Oh,
So you're saying that your claim to have never seen that kid before is the truth?
I said I'm dead serious. You's better believe that's the truth. Ha!
Then I'd say that gives me time to enjoy another cup of pure black magic. That is, while you testify for the court again, Mr. Tigre.
oh yes. Would you mind indulging the court, witness?
You never actually met the victim? That's gotta be a lie right there. It's time I nailed this guy.
I ain't no liar. I never met Glenn Elg. There was some lame guy with that name, though. Wanted to borrow cash from me. I set up a meeting with the guy at my office, 10 to Linda. I waited around for him, but he ain't never showed. I ain't never even been to that Tribulations joint just here.
I see. That all seems perfectly logical. You had arranged to meet with the victim, but he didn't show up.
I've heard it's pretty hard to keep appointments when you're dead.
Very well, you may begin your cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor.
Didn't I tell you I got a big deal going down today? I ain't gonna make my bus now. I'm gonna have to take the express train. That bill's going straight to you. Right. I ain't no liar. I never met Glenn Elg. There was some lame guy with that name, though, wanted to borrow cash from me. I set up a meeting with the guy at my office, 10 to Linda. I waited around for him, but he ain't never showed. I ain't never even been to that Tribulations joint. Is here?
Did we mention the name of the restaurant before now?
Nope.
Never? Not even once?
Not even once. I was in my office the day that went down. I didn't put no poison in no kid's coffee, capiche?
How do you know it was poison?
Do you think think you really didn't meet Glen Elg? Not likely. Because I'm convinced this guy's behind the whole thing. So you mean that whole testimony he just gave was a lie? Of course! So we can't afford to give him time to think of ways to plug the leaks in it. I gotta nail him while I still can. Alright, let's see. He's never met Glen Elg. Let me look. Ah, there it is. We found Trabian matches in Tender Litter. That was the problem. Okay.
Objection!
Mr. Tigray, is there something you'd like to tell the court about these matches?
Matches? What she's talking about?
We found them in your office at Tender Lender. They're from that restaurant. If you've really never been to Tribulations before, what was a book of the restaurant's matches doing on your desk?
You've been snooping around with my stuff too, wise guy? What are you, my ball and chain? Ain't no broad controlling me.
Order, order. Well, witness, I think it's time you started telling us the truth, don't you? Sorry, I'm terribly sorry. Forgive me.
I ain't no pussycat. I don't go back on what I said. But okay, I was at the joint that day.
What?
Well, listen good, alright? I might have been there, but I still never met that kid.
I still think he's lying.
Well, well. Looks like an order just came in for another testimony. I'm this close to proving it was him. He did meet Glen Elg that day, and he did put poison in his coffee. He must have.
So, plot twist, it was actually Violetta who put the poison in the coffee.
I was supposed to meet with a kid at the restaurant that afternoon. When I opened the door to the joint, I saw one ugly scene. A guy was laid out over the table, stiff as concrete. I figured if the place wasn't hot already, it was gonna be, so I split. I heard the cops' sirens on my way out. I went straight back to my office.
I see. You didn't actually meet with him in the end, then. Well, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Hold it. If I wait around here any longer, I ain't even gonna make the normal express. No more stupid questions.
Ha! No problem. Anytime Trey presses you on something irrelevant, I'll see he pays a penalty.
Mr. Godot, that's my job.
Your job is to slam that little hammer of yours and call it guilty verdict. So do it!
Yes, sir!
The special express ain't cheap, right? Just so yous know, since you's paying.
Oh man, doesn't the rule of law mean anything around here?
I was supposed to meet with the kid at the restaurant that afternoon.
Press. So the meeting wasn't due to take place at Tender Lender at all then?
The kid was making a fuss about coming into office. It's always that way when I want to talk about repayments, even though I got the best punching bag you ever seen if there are any issues.
Maybe it's because of the punching bag that people are scared to come? So that's why you decided to meet at Tribulations.
Objection!
Ah, you're going over old ground again, Trite. So sorry. You just earned yourself a penalty. Now suck it down.
You will suck down the penalty, Mr. Wright, and you will like it.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Alright, let's see. Saw ugly, seen when you open the door of the Oh, wait a minute. I don't think that's possible. Yep, nope. Not possible.
Objection!
You're something of a loan-collecting pro, aren't you, Mr. Tigre?
No one escapes the tiger's clutches.
Well, I'm something of a lie-detecting pro. And no one escapes the Phoenix's clutches. I think it's time we got something straight. What's this, Wright? A new line of irrelevant questioning? These are the floor plans of the crime scene. You say you were standing at the entrance, Mr. Tigre? From there, your field of vision would have covered an area something like this.
Indeed, the witness would have had a clear view of the victim's seat.
Isn't that what I just said? I saw the back of the kid's head.
Unfortunately for you, that is not possible. If the court would think back, you'll remember that between each of the tables is a tall partition.
Alright, that's true.
Now look at the plans again. The truth is painfully obvious. From the entrance, the field of vision of any customer walking in ends here. So, from the entrance of Tribulations, you couldn't have seen the victim's seat. But you did see the victim that day because you met with him.
Objection!
Wrong. Have you forgotten the old man's testimony yesterday? The victim was alone at his table.
But the defense just proved that point to be moot. The victim witnessed by Mr. Kudo was not Glenn Elg, but a fake.
What?
In order to have Mr. Kudo falsely testify, the real killer poses the victim as he had just killed and acted... The real killer posed as the victim he had just killed and acted out a charade. There we go.
That will do. This trial's gone on long enough without the obvious question being answered. Who exactly was this real killer who impersonated the victim? You say the killer murdered Glenn Elg and then impersonated his victim in a performance for Victor Kudo. In that case, Mr. Wright, reveal the identity of this criminal to the court.
It's pork you had number 2 over here.
Take that!
Obviously, the killer is Furio Tigre. No one else could have done it.
What? Well, witness?
Now that's cute. You think you can pin this on the tiger? Maybe you just don't understand. The tiger's king of the jungle. So what dares you to say it again? Come on, you got the guts.
You can't threaten me, Mr. Tigre. It's the defense. Go ahead and tell the witness, Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright?
Sounds to me like it must be you, old man. You've got guts, I'll give you that.
Mr. Wright, please do not leave me to handle this alone.
Perhaps I can end this embarrassment.
Mr. Godot.
Let's just go back over Mr. Kudo's testimony one more time. The old man didn't see just the victim. Oh, no, no, no.
The serving girl brought him a Javachino, but she put him something in it. There's no question about it. She very conspicuously put some white powder in there.
Was the victim he saw the real victim or not? That doesn't matter. The fact remains he saw the accused put poison into the coffee.
Yes, it was the waitress who poisoned the coffee.
Very impressive, Mr. Godot. Waiting for my absence to launch your attack. Found your pen at last, Wright. It was in my pocket. But anyway, Mr. Kudo witnessed 2 people that day. He saw the victim, the supposed Mr. Glenn Elg, and the waitress from behind.
Yes, your point, Mr. Wright?
I think the conclusion is obvious. If this Glenn Elg was really the killer in disguise, then surely it's possible that the waitress was also part of the show.
What? You mean the waitress was an imposter as well?
The defendant, Miss Bird, fell unconscious immediately after the incident. And someone used her fainting to hatch an elaborate plan to pin the murder on her.
Who on earth was it? Who was this waitress that Mr. Kudo witnessed?
Oh, gee, I wonder who that could be.
Violetta.
Who is this woman?
Her name is Viola Cadaverini. She's an employee of Tender Lender.
You's making a big mistake. Do you know who Violetta's grandfather is? You better be going home in an armored truck tonight if you know what I mean.
Stop shaking, Nick. Where was I? Yes, the defendant, Miss Bird, has stated the following. Well, when I took the coffee over to the victim's table, it's true there was another customer in the restaurant. She was sort of creepy. And she had kind of cackling laugh. There are just too many contradictions in this case. The second man at the victim's table, who nobody Miss Bird seems to have seen. The earpiece worn by the victim in his left ear when that eardrum was ruptured. And the radio show he was supposedly listening to half an hour after it was over. There's only one illogical explanation that clears up all of these contradictions. The whole incident took place twice, once for real and once for show. And, Mr. Furio Tigre, the only person who could have committed the crime is you.
Witness, what have you got to say?
That's cute.
Sorry?
You're so right. I could do with a guy like you around.
What do you mean?
Okay, I'm in on this game. I'm gonna have to charter a jet to get me to my meeting now, but I'm gonna give you just one more thing to think about before I go.
Something to think about.
You just got it all wrapped up nice, huh, Mr. Wright? We just missed out on one real important thing.
But that can't be!
I was in the joint that day, and I met that kid, too. But I couldn't have poisoned him, you hear?
What? Do you really expect us to believe you now, Mr. Tigre?
Ah, what a troublemaker. Troublemaker? Looks like we're gonna need another one for the road. One more steaming cup of hot testimony.
Indeed. Witness, you will explain yourself to the court. I will give you one more chance to testify. What happened that day at Tribulations between yourself and the victim?
Yeah, I loaned out cash, about $100,000. That day we was due to have a little chat. The kid had hit his payback date, see? So anyway, he tells me he's got no way to pay up. I'm about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming. Yes, I won $500,000. He got lucky, you know, real lucky. If that waitress hadn't done what she done, everything would have been over.
Now, I see that the principal amount you would loan to Mr. Oak was $50,000.
Yeah, well, you've got the VIG taken into account. Interest builds up fast, you know.
That's faster than fast. $100,000 is twice his principal.
And the repayment deadline was December 3rd, the day of the incident in question.
Yeah, he was an unlucky kid. He got that $500,000 just in time. So I ain't had no reason to kill the kid. And if I ain't got no motive, you ain't got no case.
His motive? Oh, he has to have one, but what is it?
Yeah, I loaned out cash, about $100,000. That day we was due to have a little chat. The kid is hit his payback date, see? So anyway, he tells me he's got no way to pay up. I'm about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming. Yes, I won $500,000. He got lucky, you know, real lucky. If that waitress hadn't done what she done, everything would have been over.
The waitress, you mean?
The girl with the glasses in the defendant's chair. Who else could I mean? If she hadn't gotten away, things would have been bada bing, bada boom, over and done with.
Maybe I should push a little on this. Ask how things would have been. What do you mean things would have been over and done with?
You sold there or what? I'm talking about the cash. I was there to get my $100,000 back. That's all. I'm a businessman. It was all coming together before the waitress got in the way.
As far as I can tell from the witness's testimony, and other than recouping his loan, Mr. Tigre had no motive for killing the victim. Witness, you will amend your testimony to reflect what you just said.
Tiger's motive, huh?
I was after the $100,000. I didn't have no other reason to kill the guy.
Are you saying you had no other motives that day?
Yeah, so what?
Then why didn't you take the lottery ticket when you left?
Well, I just think because of Four Eyes over there.
Because of Maggie?
How about you go ask Four Eyes about that $500,000 ticket? She wanted it so bad. She poisoned Elk's coffee.
A likely theory. Your word hasn't held water lately, Mr. Tigre.
Objection!
Let's not forget this witness was actually at the scene, Trite.
No, I don't exactly agree with some of the deals I sent down. I couldn't be there when the cops showed up, so I split.
I see.
Your Honor. The witness's last few statements are worth a good 2 cups of coffee.
Well, Mr. Wright, are you happy with the testimony, or would you like it amended?
Have it amended? I'm not going to get anywhere with the testimony as it stands. Your Honor, the defense would like the testimony amended.
Very well. Witness, you will amend your testimony to reflect your recent statements, please.
Thanks to what she did, my business with that kid was over.
So the Tiger was meeting Glenn Elk to get his money back. If Mr. Elk had just given him the lottery ticket, that would have been the end of it. Yeah, so what's the Tiger's motive? This is the big one. If I don't manage to undermine this testimony, it's all over for us. Why would he have to poison Mr. Elk? And why did he loan him the money in the first place when he knew he couldn't repay him? Yeah, let's see. Let me try pressing about the $100,000. Did he have any way of paying the loan back?
The fool was a gambler. He said he couldn't give it up until he landed a big win, so I agreed to help him.
Help him? You?
I kept hitting him with ideas for ways he could get a big win, but the guy kept losing.
So you were helping him for his sake or yours?
Win through compromise. You help me, I help you. So what's the difference, huh?
I don't believe this. Would anyone really ever loan money to someone they thought was unreliable? Like, for example, if it were you, I'd only loan you $5 max. Thanks a lot, Maya.
That day we was due to have a little chat. The kid had hit his payback date, see?
So how much were you expecting to pay you back on that day?
What'd you think? The whole package, $100,000, including interest.
That's a real heavyweight punch.
Once a client misses repayment, you call the whole loan in. You want to make it in my world, that's all you's got to know.
And how many times has Mr. Elk been late with his repayments?
Once.
And how much was he supposed to pay back every month?
$50.
Sounds like Mr. L was in a real sticky spot. Yeah, $50 a month, he'd never pay that huge loan off.
So anyway, he tells me he's got no way to pay up.
How much did he have left on his debt?
You wanted it in round figures? About $100,000.
That's the whole amount. We're talking about a guy who had 58 cents in his wallet.
What? He's telling me he wasn't even gonna pay for the coffee?
He certainly seems to have been a brave man, this Mr. Elk.
That guy was smooth, I tell you. He was real smooth. You'll have your money in less than 5 minutes. That's what he says to me. The guy that calls me the Tender Tiger, he was skating on thin ice with me. I'm about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming.
Was that because he...
The guy won the lottery. It was his last chance at a big win.
You can confirm that this is the ticket in question?
That's it.
The Millionaire Radio Show starts at 1:30 p.m. and runs for 10 minutes. It fixes the time you two met with some accuracy.
And the whole scene was acted out again 30 minutes later. Also that Mr. Kudo would see it.
I can still see the kid's face now. I ain't never gonna forget it. Yes, I won $500,000. You got lucky, you know. Real lucky.
Was there anyone else in the restaurant at the time?
I don't remember.
There was no one there. I'll wear that ridiculous tiger shirt for a month. Mr. Armstrong, Maggie, and if I'm right, Viola Cadaverini were all there at that time.
So the victim had intended to repay you from his lottery winnings from the beginning?
Seems that way to me.
But you wouldn't normally expect to win the lottery, would you?
Ah, the undying belief that your next roll will end the worst losing streak you've ever had. That's what defines a true gambler. He makes it sound so cool. Don't be tempted, Nick. You haven't got the willpower for it.
All I know is the kid took a shot and he got lucky in the end. Thanks to what she did, my business with that kid was over.
Tiger's trying to pin the crime on Maggie. If I ask him about what he saw, it's only going to damage our case. What do you mean things would have been... Okay, I think we've already done this. Have amended. I'm not going to get anywhere with the testimony as it stands. Your Honor, the defense would like the testimony amended.
Very well. Witness, you will amend your testimony to reflect your recent statements, please.
I was after the $100,000. I didn't have no other reason to kill the guy.
What about... Can't touch this disc.
Objection!
So you just intended to get back the $100,000 Mr. Elg owed you, correct?
I loaned the guy the cash, so that's my right.
Unfortunately for Mr. Elg, I don't believe the $100,000 is what you were really after.
Objection!
What are you getting at, Wright? What else would a moneylender be after other than money? Oh, the moneylender was after money. But money in a totally different league. The kind of money that a single disc like this would fetch.
What is that?
A computer virus, Your Honor. A virus called MC Bomber.
A computer virus? What does one of those do?
Computer virus is a program that wreaks havoc on the insides of a computer.
A computer? What does one of those do?
I guess the beard isn't the only part of his honor that is from the Stone Age. I'll explain it to you later, Your Honor. Right now, this is the important point. A virus like MC Bomber would be worth several $1 million on the black market.
So several $1 million!
Lending money with no hope of ever seeing repayment would normally be bad for business. But in this case, the very fact that Glenn Elg had no way to repay the money is crucial.
What?
Glenn Elg was a programmer, a highly skilled programmer. That skill was the collateral Mr. Elg put up in order to borrow the money.
Objection!
You're trying to suggest the witness's motive was to get a hold of that program? Exactly. The witness may have poor fashion sense, but he is by no means an idiot, Wright. A man like him could get his hands on $1 million without resorting to murder. Of course he could, provided that he had time. But what if he had needed the money right then? When the pressure's on, the luxury of choice tends to disappear.
Seems you have a logical conclusion for this theory, Mr. Wright. Would you care to share it with us? Why did Mr. Tigray need money to the tune of $1 million?
Yeah, see about that. Viola's medical papers.
Take that!
In December of last year, you found yourself in need of a huge amount of money. About 6 months ago, you were involved in a traffic accident, weren't you? An accident involved... Hello there, Reeve. How are you? an accident involving a car and a scooter in which a young woman was injured. She was taken to the hospital where she underwent surgery.
How much of this do you know?
These medical papers document the treatment of the young woman in question. According to these, her operation cost $1 million. And yet, when the payment was due last month, you somehow managed to pay it in full.
Well, $1 million? A preposterous sum. Someone should sue these HMOs.
Ah, no one would pay a bill like that. If the medical association got wind of it, the hospital would end up dead as a morgue. Fine at the moment. I just got from homework from me. You just got home from work, and right now asking me about me. I'm doing okay. Yeah, good to hear you're doing all right. Glad to have you joining us. But Mr. Tigre had no choice but to pay, because his very life depended on it.
Oh, order! You say his life depended on it, Mr. Wright?
Indeed it did, simply because the injured woman was none other than Viola Cadaverini. Did you say Cadaverini? Bruto Cadaverini, mob boss in charge of all underworld activities in the city, and doting grandfather to his precious Violetta, also known as Viola Cadaverini. Your life was in danger unless you paid compensation to the boss, correct? It makes sense. You were desperate to acquire the $1 million Bruto Cadaverini demanded of you. So desperate, in fact, you decided to sacrifice Glenn Elg's life to pay your debt. On the day of the murder, Mr. Tigre's sole intention was to get his hands on this CD. Glenn Elg had no way of paying back the $100,000, and Mr. Tigre knew it. But then a miracle happened. The kind that Mr. Tigre would prefer to say never happened, but he can't, and neither can I.
The lottery win?
Exactly. At the 11th hour, Mr. Elg won $500,000 on the lottery, which left Mr. Tigre with no way of getting his hands on the all-important CD. At least, no legitimate way. So he resorted to illegitimate means.
That's crazy.
He murdered Glenn Elg and then made his next move, to frame Maggie Bird for the crime. Mr. Tigre posed as Glenn Elg, while Viola Cadaverini played the role of Miss Bird. And then they reenacted the whole thing in order to establish a witness. The witness being the one we all heard testify yesterday, Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection!
Like I said, Trite, that's crazy. No one can pull off a stunt like that. For starters, there's no way that chef could have been kept in the dark about it.
But Mr. Armstrong was in on it from the very beginning. Have you forgotten already, Mr. Cadeau? Mr. Armstrong owed the witness money too. $500,000, in fact. He had no choice but to go along with Mr. Tigre's plan.
Order! Silence or I will clear the courtroom.
You's put on a good show, Spiky.
Ain't that the pot calling the kettle black?
If you want to stay alive in the loan shark business, you gotta be careful. You saying I dressed up like that kid, created a witness, and framed someone? If I did something crazy like that, I'd leave a trail as bright as my shirt. I ain't dumb enough to do something sloppy like that.
I agree.
You do?
Despite your appearance, you are very careful. That's why you took one more precaution. One more trick to make sure Miss Bird had no way out.
What? Another one, Mr. Wright?
Interesting. Why don't you fill us all in, Trite? What was this trick you say Mr. Tigre performed to frame the accused? Thank you.
What on earth is that? What an insult to think anyone could be fooled by such a childish imitation.
Consider yourself insulted, Your Honor. Mr. Tigre, you didn't just pose as the victim on the day in question. A month ago in this very court, you posed as me.
What? That's...
The truth.
But the witness looks nothing like you, Mr. Wright. Although, now that I think about it, it was you, wasn't it? No doubt it was you, standing in here at this very court a mere month ago. The Phoenix Wright who put up the most disreputable, shabby defense I had ever seen.
Objection!
Can you prove that, Gramps? Prove the attorney who represented the accused here a month ago was this man? Are you prepared to take the stand and testify that it was him?
Hey,
Forget about it, yeah? I wouldn't do something like that, not me. You made a mistake, right? It was someone else, huh?
Have you no pride, sir?
Objection!
This isn't a matter of pride. In case you didn't know, Trite, here in court we deal with people's lives.
Mr. Cadeau is right.
Your Honor?
Speaking for myself, I am absolutely convinced. The attorney in question was the witness standing before me now. However, I preside over this court as the judge, with the vested power to hand down a verdict. Someone in my position cannot be swayed by a memory without evidence to support it. No! If the defense has no further evidence, the court will now excuse the witness. The circumstances surrounding Mr. Tigre are dubious for sure, but not conclusive.
But we've come so far.
You say he impersonated Glen Elk. You say he impersonated you. But none of that adds up to a murder charge. You don't have a shred of evidence that the witness poisoned the victim's coffee. Ugh! Sucks to be you, right? Don't mess with the tiger or you're gonna get mauled. You got that?
All we managed to do here was chase him around a bit. I was so close to getting to admit his own guilt.
Looks like I won't be needing a refill.
Okay, Gumshoe, anytime now.
If I just had one more piece of evidence. One more piece of evidence and maybe I could get Maggie off the hook.
This witness's cross-examination is over. You are free to go, Mr. Tigre. Your Honor, sir. Wait! Detective?
Detective Gumshoe!
Sorry it took so long, pal. I staked everything on this, my badge the works. So here it is. My heart's counting on this too. What is it, Detective? Isn't it obvious, pal? It's the final, decisive piece of evidence. What? Sorry it took so long, pal, but I finally got the results from the lab.
The results?
About the prints, pal, from this medicine bottle.
Oh, so do you know who the prints belong to now?
Do you think I'm some kind of hack, Detective? Of course I know.
So tell us, they're the tigers, right? I knew it.
You bet. Clear as crystal all over the bottle. They're Furio Tigre's paw prints, all right?
That's great. We've got him now, Nick. What's wrong with you? You've hardly said a word since Detective Gumshoe got here. He's laid everything on the line for this, Nick. I know. Look, I'm sorry. This is kind of hard to say, but it really doesn't make any difference whose prints are on that bottle now.
Huh? What? Why not?
What we need to produce at this stage in the trial is irrefutable evidence that the tiger put poison in Glen Elk's coffee. He already admitted that he met the victim. The fact that his prints are on this bottle That really doesn't make any difference now.
I knew it. Great. No matter how hard I try, I'm never of any use.
Hey, don't be so hard on yourself.
This was our last chance to help Maggie. And I've been working on some useless piece of evidence the whole time. It's alright. I'm a real loser. It's not breaking news to me, pal.
Detective Gumshoe? Maggie! You've been working on something for me?
Sorry I let you down, Maggie. I know you didn't do it. And I'm a detective. Supposed to be able to prove stuff like that. I'm really sorry. I'll get out of your hair now.
Detective Gumshoe, wait! He's gone. Isn't there anything we can do now, Nick? I wish there was. Gumshoe worked so hard to get that evidence. Only there was some way I could use it.
Mr. Wright,
Yes, Your Honor.
I granted you a recess so you could prepare this decisive evidence you've discovered.
Yes. Don't keep us all in suspense, Track. Show us. Naturally, we can assume it's evidence that'll actually stand up in court, can't we? Think, Phoenix. Don't let Gumshoe's hard work go to waste.
How much more of my time are you gonna waste? I ain't been to no court before, but you lawyers should know how to blow things out of proportion.
No doubt, given the nature of the evidence, it will speak for itself. Nevertheless, you will talk us through it, Mr. Wright.
I know I can't prove anything new with this evidence. I'm really backed into a corner here. Maybe if he thinks he's got me beat, he'll let his guard down a bit.
Don't keep us waiting any longer, Mr. Wright. Present this final decisive piece of evidence to the court.
This is the defense's final piece of evidence.
Isn't that the victims?
Your Honor, naturally, the court is already aware of the contents of this bottle. However, interesting new information has come to light. We have clearly identified some fingerprints on it. Fingerprints belonging to you, Mr. Tigre.
What?
Mr. Wright, what conclusion are you hoping to draw from this new information?
What in here knowing this bottle contains, except that one man, one person in this group should theoretically be in the dark.
My prints are on that pansy-looking bottle. Is that what you're saying? Well, what the hell's in it anyway?
Phony trial with phony lawyer and phony clues. Everything about this case has been phony. Seems like the perfect excuse for some phony evidence. Mr. Tigre, this is a decisive piece of evidence that will prove your guilt. Why? Because it contains potassium cyanide. This bottle contains potassium cyanide.
Potassium cyanide?
The poison used to murder Mr. Elg, Your Honor. The victim's killer used this very bottle. And on this bottle, Mr. Tigre, we found your fingerprints. Well, how do you explain that?
You'd make a good clown, you know that?
What?
You ain't never gonna get this to stick. He's just making me laugh now. You think a cheap bluff like that's gonna fool the tiger?
A bluff?
I can see straight through you, Phoenix Wright. That ain't the bottle with the cyanide in it.
No. This is the bottle they found traces of poison in.
Don't mess with the tiger, you're gonna get ripped to shreds. The cyanide bottle was brown, and it was made of glass. That cheap piece of trash don't look nothing like it.
I'm sorry, what? What was that?
Godot is just steaming over there.
I'm sorry, what was that? I'm sorry.
Got him. At last.
What? Why is everyone gone quiet? I said that bottle.
Is this the bottle you're referring to?
Yeah, that's it. That's the bottle the cyanide was in. But Chase ain't gonna find my prints on that bottle. Don't let that cozy-looking suit fool you, people. That lawyer's just playing games. Tell him, Mr. Prosecutor. Tell that guy where to go.
You still haven't figured it out? Don't you realize what you just said?
What I said. What did I just say?
You were summoned to this court for the first time earlier today. If you really had nothing to do with the murder, you shouldn't have known all the little details. For instance, you shouldn't have known what kind of bottle the potassium cyanide was in. But just now you slipped up in front of every single person in this courtroom. You described the exact bottle used by the killer to hold the poison!
You still know who's used medicine with. I'm the Tiger. I control millions of dollars on the black market. You think I'm gonna let some jumped-up suit get the better of me?
Sure, the last piece of evidence was phony. But that's just what you deserve. The phony trial with a phony lawyer, it was all played out by you, the biggest phony of all.
Keto.
What's going on? It looks like a blackout.
Well done, Trite. Thank you, Rave. Benefits of not being in an apartment anymore. I saved my 17th cup of coffee just for you. Savor it. While you watch the police restrain your prey.
And Mr. Wright, you caught a tiger by his toe, but if this one hollers, he won't be let go. So now then, how are things going with Mr. Tigre, Mr. Godot?
He is being arrested on the suspicion of the murder of Glen Elk, Your Honor.
Fortunately for us, we managed to rectify a very grave error. Miss Bird was found guilty in the absence of a genuine defense attorney.
Yes, she was. And in the absence of genuine evidence. But the tiger made one mistake.
Indeed. He very nearly got away with everything if it wasn't for that one slip of the tongue. Furio Tigre is truly a frightening criminal.
Ha! The truly frightening one is that defense attorney over there. No.
Well, I am now in a position to deliver my verdict. This court finds the defendant, Maggie Bird, That is all. This court is adjourned.
Mr. Wright, I'm at a loss for words. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Maggie. I was so mad when Mr. Wright landed me in all that trouble a month ago. Now I feel like I can forgive him. Hey, that wasn't me, Maggie. That was the tiger. Look, Nick, in the doorway. Detective Gumshoe.
Oh, I guess I'll be heading off then. See you around, pal.
Wait! Detective Gumshoe.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations, Maggie.
Thanks.
I knew you were innocent all along.
Why didn't you say that in your testimony then?
Huh? Oh, well, I was... Well, guess I'll be heading off then. See you around.
Wait up, Detective. He just ran off.
Maggie, why are you being so hard on him? He busted his butt for you. It's thanks to him that we got the medication bottle. That wasn't even of any use. But it's only because Mr. Wright used it so cleverly. Detective Gumshoe was just running around in circles. Poor guy. Looks like she still isn't ready to forgive him. Can't you put in a good word for him, Nick? Yeah, Maya's right. I should help Gumshoe out. It's clear he needs it. Maggie, you know, Detective Gumshoe's really been worried about you through all of this. I wanted to believe that, sir. On that first day of the trial, he practically gave the judge a free pass to lock me up. He didn't have any choice, Maggie. He's a detective. He has to report the facts. He doubted me, that's why. He thought I might have done it. I gotta prove to her that Gumshoe really cares about her. I know, I'll give her a little present to celebrate her freedom. Hopefully they're still good. Yes, I brought that with me today for some reason. Take that! Here you are, present to celebrate your freedom. That's... a present from Detective Gumshoe made with a ton of love. He said you lost weight and he was worried about you. Detective Gumshoe. I actually really like weenies, you know? Did you guys hear that? I'm pretty hungry myself, you know. Yeah, the trial dragged on a bit today, didn't it? Is it okay if I eat this now? So, how is it, Maggie? It's really good.
I hope that's still good.
Yeah, they're probably packed with a ton of preservatives. Oh, great. False allegations surrounding Maggie have all been cleared up. And who knows? Maybe a whole new chapter of her life is about to start. At least it might have if Shu Takumi hadn't stopped writing for this particular series after Hollow Justice.
Ooh, looks like Edgeworth is gonna return.
No, he's not returning. He's debuting.
Ah, snazzy. So he's the new defense?
No, Turnabout Beginnings. This is his first trial that he presided over.
Ooh.
Well, not presided. I don't think that's quite the right word. But... okay, so we will begin Turnabout Beginnings next Wednesday. And we should be returning with Batman Arkham Asylum on Sunday. Let's see if there's anyone online to raid. What do we got here? Nope. Can't say I really want to raid any of these particular streams just because of what's being streamed. Doesn't really fit with this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and call it here, and we will be back on Sunday. In the meantime, this is Dr. Novelle and
The Tired Pierogi!
yes, who actually stayed awake for the whole thing this time. She is to be congratulated.
Yay!
So we're signing out. Hope to see you again, and goodbye. Thank you for the GLaDOS goodbye alert.
Bye!
See you later.